What's going on, horror fans? We'd like to welcome you to Descent into Horror Hell. It's been a long time coming, but we're finally here. So, without further ado, my name is Skidgore.
I'm Ghoul.
We're gonna let it rip for you. Bring some good horror for you. Chars. Chars to all you out there, horror fans.
Let's get it started.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 6, 6.
What's going on, horror fans? Welcome back. Right now, we're gonna kind of go over what the podcast is gonna be about. You know, what our intentions are. Basically, man, it's just the podcast is about our love for the genre of horror, about
Absolutely.
you know, the films, the directors, you know, different types of genres, the exploitation films, slasher, torture, you know, you name it.
Everybody. We don't leave nobody out. Except those shitty remakes, man.
That's for another day.
Yeah, fuck those remakes, man.
Yeah, not all of them were bad.
Not all.
But,
Most.
yeah, I mean, man, it's just going to be about, and we're talking about Christ Full Moon Productions, Toe Tag,
Synapse.
Dustin Mills, Code Red. I mean,
Unearthed Films,
any
Unearthed
production
Films.
company, man, if they involved in horror, it's probably going to be talked about here. So,
Absolutely.
without further ado, let's get this shit going, man.
Hey, what's going on, man? What we're gonna do now? We always figured how we gonna do this. This is our first podcast, so we figured the most appropriate way would be like to show you 5 films, and it's hard to do 5 fucking films, guaranteed, of the movies that kind of got us into horror, and you know.
Yep.
So, yeah, we thought it'd be a fun thing to do, and we're each gonna take turns doing 5 films. So, let's do this.
All right.
Ghoul, you want to go first?
My first one is probably one of the scariest films I can ever remember seeing. And that, of course, is The Exorcist.
Classic.
You know, in 1973, man, I didn't see it in 1973, but, I mean, what can you say about, you know, the supernatural category? Obviously, we've known about Paranormal Activity and all these films that have been coming out. Doesn't even compare to this film.
Groundbreaking cinematography.
Way ahead of its time, you know. It's just Linda Blair, great in the film.
Yes.
And you really can't go wrong with it, man.
Your mother sucks cocks in hell. What's there not to love, right?
Absolutely. So,
talk about a traumatizing film, man. Wow. Exorcist, totally. I'm with you on that one.
yeah.
All right. Well, my first one. I'm gonna really go old school now. The original. I don't know if you can see that. Frankenstein, 1931.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
James
kind of
Whale.
kind of self-explanatory. What can you not say about this great film? I mean, tremendous performance by Boris Karloff, one of the best. You know, under all the makeup that Jack Pierce did on him, and he just could act through the makeup. It really is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, this is definitely my pick.
Definitely.
I saw it at a very young age, and this is actually the same copy my mom got me, so thank you for ruining me, Mom.
Definitely, I want
Here's
to add
Frankenstein.
something here on my next pick, because these definitely go hand in hand in putting Universal on the map for horror
Absolutely.
films, and that would be Dracula. I guess I really gelled with this film more than, you know, Frankenstein. This was the first one, and I think it was just the acting of Bela Lugosi was just, he had such a creepy atmosphere about himself, and you can get that through films like White Zombie, and the guy was just a great actor.
Devil's Bad.
You know, in this film, I remember the first time that I actually did see it, I always remember how creepy the catacombs were. I was so damn scared of those catacombs, but
Yeah.
Great acting all around, and again, this is what put Universal over. that hump that a lot of the German expressionist films had. You know, Hold On in the 20s, the silent era. This was one of the first horror films that actually had the speaking in it.
And Karl Freund, who was a cinematographer, is a German expressionist, you know, filmmaker. So you could totally see that coming to America. You know, that style of filmmaking, very, very influential.
Yeah, definitely.
Dracula, nice pick. Whoa, that's weird. So he goes 31 Dracula. I'm going 58 Dracula with the great Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. Rest in peace, by the way. I remember one Halloween, AMC was airing all the old Hammer films. You know, The Mummy, Curse of Frankenstein, Plague of the Zombies, etc., etc. But this is the one I happened to catch, and all I remember is Christopher Lee's eyes in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like the way his bloodshot eyes
yeah.
and the blood coming out of his mouth and shit, and it's just...
That was creepy as a kid.
It was, man, because like, I would imagine, like, when I was a youngster, if I opened a curtain at night, I would see those eyes staring at me ready to bite my neck or something.
Yeah.
You know? Total classic.
Great
Hammer
acting,
films.
definitely. Definitely, again, you know, you can't talk enough about atmosphere in these films.
Absolutely.
You know,
Terrence Fisher is an amazingly underrated director, for sure. He was just a master of his craft.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to go, my third one here, Nightmare on Elm Street. 1984 slasher, in my opinion, at its best. I know a lot of people, I know you got really big into the Friday the 13th,
Oh, yeah.
the slasher, but I guess I loved his, you know, Robert Englund, his character. He really brought something to life, and that, in something that's so weird because you watch it, and it's this dream atmosphere, but yet you get this realistic, like he really brings them to the forefront, and... You know, obviously, you know, I didn't know, when I first saw this, I didn't know Johnny Depp, I didn't know who the hell he was.
Greatest moment ever.
But the definite kill scene is unbelievable. And actually, the behind the scenes, which on the special edition box set you can watch, and they show how they did that, turning everything upside down.
It's amazing.
And they pinned everything to the wall. And
such a low budget, too.
Yeah.
Wes had such a low budget on that film.
And, you know,
you never would know.
To me, I guess I really... reciprocated with Robert Englund and Freddy Krueger as a character. Just really, because I'm more, you know, I'm a funny kind of guy. I like to crack jokes, and you know, with those one-liners, how could you go wrong? You know, and yeah, definitely was a.
I'm your boyfriend, no, Nancy.
Definitely,
fucking
man.
classic, man.
You can't go wrong. Robert Englund, please come back for another one, because they botched the last one in 2010.
Oh man, the remake. That's a whole new topic right there. But ready?
We'll move on, man.
1, 2, 3. Remake. There's only one Freddy Krueger, and that is Robert Englund.
Damn right.
My pick here is that this happens to actually be my favorite movie of all time. It's a movie that I can't say. Oh, he's got it too. All right, cool.
You know what, we might as well
We're
talk
Jaws
about
brothers.
this one. You know, I guess this could go on everybody's list, man. If you don't like Jaws, you really don't like horror. I'm
Get
sorry.
off our channel.
Yeah, I'm sorry, because I'll let him start. This is his film, but...
Yeah, man, I mean, I really don't know what else to say that has not been said about this classic film. I mean, Steven Spielberg, just coming off a Duel, you know. I mean, Duel's another great film, but Jaws was his masterpiece in my opinion. And this was just a summer blockbuster, you know, the special effects that went into this film, even though the shark usually is not working. But like, man, when Bruce did work, he worked. You know, come down and show him some of this shit. I'll never forget when I first saw that shark.
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
Yeah, I mean, so many classic moments in this film, man. I mean, how can you not love Jaws? And I'm a huge shark fanatic as well, and it's actually Shark Week now, so kind of fitting. Jaws.
Absolutely.
Hail.
No need to go any further on that one. I guess I can give my 2 cents on this one.
Yeah. Show me the way to go home.
I mean, realistically, this film was... It was scary in the fact that it could happen. I think...
It's actually based on a case from 1916, the Jersey Man-Eater.
Yeah, and I think that's what... you could have all the monsters and put everybody in all this makeup, and I understand that, Bruce was a mechanical animal, but the fact that something like this does happen and could happen, is frightening. I mean, we saw it in theaters not too long ago on the 40th anniversary.
Amazing.
And
experience.
Man, it never gets old. You can quote it as many times as you want. No,
We do.
And I don't talk about maybe some of the other ones. Second one was good. Third one, fourth one,
Yeah.
We'll let them be. You'll let you be the judge on that. But such a phenomenal film. Yeah. What more can you say?
Jaws is the greatest, man.
Brilliant, man.
Cheers to Bruce.
You're up. Because I kind of shared one with you. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, next movie I got here is a movie that I saw at a very, very young age. I was starting to kind of get into the slasher genre, and against my parents' wishes, of course. You know how it is. We got to sneak downstairs and watch that movie when everyone's sleeping. Make sure that they don't hear you go down the stairs. It was Halloween 2, actually. Now, I love the first one a lot. I mean, the first one is a classic, just like Jaws.
Yeah.
But Halloween 2 holds a special memory for me. It was actually one of the first slashes I ever saw on USA Up All Night with Ron Shear, if you remember that.
I'm sure
that was a bad impression.
Yeah.
That was a bad impression. But
some of the older listeners would know exactly what that is.
But, I mean, the scene in the hospital, Michael Myers stalking Laurie Strode in the hospital. At the time, my mom was in the hospital, and, I would go visit her. And the hospital looked just identical to the hospital in Halloween 2, I swear to God, and you can just picture this stupid little kid running around thinking Michael Myers is chasing him in the hospital. People must thought I was crazy, but...
Until you explained it to him, of course.
Yeah. But man, Halloween 2 is a great sequel to a classic already. And, man, Halloween 2 is great.
And Rick Rosenthal did that one.
Yes, he did. And John Carpenter and Deborah Hill wrote it.
Yeah.
So we got the original writers for it. And I think it's a great sequel. Really do.
Right on. All right. Number 5, to me, it's a classic in its own right. That is Lucia Fulci, The Beyond. Now, there's a lot of films that, didn't, in a sense, really scare the hell out of me. This was one, when I saw it, I remember our buddy, we rented it from the library, and I remember his parents let us actually get it. We had no idea what it was. The only reason I got it was because of her eyes. She was right on the cover.
Oh,
she had the white-out eyes. And
Emily, fucking creepy. And Dickie, that German Shepherd that rips that dude's throat out. Oh,
but man. Emily, because on the cover, the original cover, where it's got her coming out, and she's got the cataract eyes.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I had to watch this, and didn't know who Fulci was, didn't know Zombie at the time, and we took it home and we watched it, and I always remember we really didn't take it too seriously. And I remember we were laughing at like Joe the plumber, big bearded guy comes out.
I heard a car. Was it Joe? I mean,
and then you find him, and I think the part that really scared me was in the bathtub. When Joe was in this dirty bathtub, and she's getting closer and closer and closer, and all of a sudden Joe just emerges, and all
and that noise
sewage.
he makes it.
Oh, it's just, at that point I just like, this is nuts. And I actually didn't watch this film for a couple of years after that because
until you met me,
it scared the hell out of me. It was one of those films that just
classic,
that puts color in your shorts for sure.
Absolutely.
Obviously, definitely not something you should let kids watch. But my second mother, thank you.
Right on. Okay, well, when I was very young, you know, I was also trying to get into more gory films. Basically, how it started was there used to be an old movie making show on the Discovery Channel called Movie Magic, and they had a horror episode on there, and they talked to all the makeup greats like Dick Smith and Ray Harryhausen and definitely Tom Savini.
Yeah.
And they showed clips from a lot of Savini's movies like The Prowler, Maniac, Creepshow, obviously Friday the 13th, Dawn of the Dead. But the one that really got me, man, was this film, Day of the Dead.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw how they made the film on the show, you know, and how Captain Rhodes was filled with like actual real guts.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my God, dude, that was real shit.
Yeah. Well, back then they didn't.
Joe got him! I mean,
because you didn't have computers back then. I mean,
yeah.
you had to
It was
rely
all
on guys like Tom Savini to just, I think Dick Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to have these guys to, you know, put this shit together. And
Andre Rossi, absolutely. Like, I mean, this film really was a turning point for me, really, because when I was younger, it was really hard for me to find, you know, more like brutal films, rated R films in general, because they would not let kids rent rated R movies.
They're a lot more strict.
They were a lot more strict back then, absolutely. So my sister, bless her, you know, I guess my parents' wishes once again, she took me to the video store and said, "You can rent any movie you want, but don't tell Mom."
It's usually how it ended up.
Yeah. So, and of course, you know, I'm just fresh off of seeing this on Movie Magic, you know, all the gore effects and stuff. So, of course, naturally, it was Day of the Dead, man. And took it home, watched it. It was almost like the floodgates of gore were open, you know.
Yeah.
It was the most insane thing I ever seen. When that zombie gets the shovel right in his throat, and
when
the
he
head just
rolls
pops
over on
off.
the bed and all the insides fall off.
Yeah.
It's just nuts.
Absolutely. Just
I mean,
images like that just stuck here, man. And
well, and I always know we watch a lot of those.
Bub.
It's a legend in his own right.
Absolutely.
But I remember, I mean, and that's the thing, a film like this, if you watch any of the YouTube videos on, you know, top 10 goriest scenes, it's always going to be that final scene.
Oh, yeah,
He's
man.
ripped in half. It's just...
You got him!
I mean, it's just so...
Badass.
And, you know, you almost bring... And it's kind of cool, because you almost bring Bub as almost like the hero. Comes
Yeah.
with a gun, you know, and
Yeah.
it's just...
Doesn't he salute the dude before
Yeah,
he, like...
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Right.
just so...
George A. Romero's the man.
Everything about it is just so cool, and yeah, definitely, man. I mean, I agree with all the picks.
Absolutely. So that was kind of give you a little taste of what, you know, got us into this genre. Hope you enjoyed it. Stick around. There's
We'll
a
be
lot
right
more
back.
gore to come.
We'll be right back.
Cheers.
Alright, welcome back, guys. Now I guess what we're going to do is, we always wanted to do something to have a dedication or talk about somebody who, you know, living or dead, is a horror icon, a horror legend, somebody who to us is, you know, has done so much, whether it be writing books, whether it be directing, acting. You know, there's living legends, there's ones that, you know, passed. So yeah, we're just going to take a little bit of time, talk about the films. You know, we're not going to give you a whole history on it, because...
We ain't historians.
Yeah, you don't
We're not
wanna
going to
sit-
try. But
You don't want to sit through that.
Yeah.
But today I guess we're going to start the very first one with a... It's quite a difficult one, actually.
Yes.
The most recent passing of really one of our biggest influences for film and for everybody in general, Christopher Lee.
Yes.
It was such a shock to hear about that, man. I mean, waking up that day,
That was not a good that was not good news to hear.
I saw the bullshit on Facebook, but how can you believe it? You can't believe half the shit that's on there. But after I saw a couple of them, and directors even posting it, it really became real.
We lost a legend.
And it's sad to say it, man, but time was coming. But you just don't like that.
We knew it was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen.
You don't like when it does. Actually,
nothing can prepare you until you get the news. That one of your favorite actors from childhood. I mean, my first memory of Christopher Lee really is just those bloodshot eyes and the bloody fangs,
which you had mentioned before, yeah.
Yeah, like I mentioned before. I mean, that as a staple of my childhood. He made me sleep with the lights on a lot.
Yeah.
He was just a legend, man.
I mean, the towering presence, was he 6'5"? I mean, just on
he's a tall motherfucker.
On screen, they made him seem like he was 8 feet tall, and
yes,
you add that to that Dracula character.
Yes.
And it was just it was a whole new realm of, that's what put Hammer on the map. I mean, Peter Cushing, obviously,
Charles
definitely, has his own thing, but. Christopher Lee was able to take characters that were so embellished, like Dracula, that when somebody mentions Dracula, you think Bela Lugosi instantaneously. But for the people who are, like the Underground films and saw the Hammer films, I mean, to reinvent a character that was so strong into one man,
yeah,
it's unbelievable. And
he was in what, 6, 7 of those Dracula roles?
Countless. And also then, of course, playing Frankenstein. I mean, Curse of Frankenstein.
And the Mummy, I mean, he got the best of all the monsters, really. I mean, he was a character actor. The guy could do, like, any role. And a lot of people don't realize is he really could do comedy. He really
didn't smile
much.
He could
do Shakespeare.
Yeah.
He could do comedy. I mean, he narrated a lot of, nature-oriented programs and stuff. The guy did everything. And he's a heavy metal star. I mean,
Charlemagne.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you haven't heard it, go check it out.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Good shit.
A little different, but how can you tell a guy who's, I think at 80, he was like 87 when he came out with that first album. I mean, it's unheard of.
He's rocking it.
Yeah, it's unheard of. It's awesome. We're going to kind of talk about just a few of the films. I mean, you can't, to try to really talk about every film this guy was ever in,
that would be a very long podcast. I think you guys want us to watch us.
But some of our favorites, one I'm going to start with, of course, the infamous Horror Express.
Yes.
It was such an interesting film, because a lot of people, you don't really consider it horror. It was kind of a murder mystery type thing until like the beast starts showing up and it breaks out, and it was such a cool film.
Cheesy fun.
Of course, this was Peter Cushing, really started this tag team of horror.
Next.
Thought this might come in handy.
Oh, good idea.
2 of you together, that's fine. But what if one of you is the monster?
Monster? They're British,
Really interesting.
Great line.
This was definitely one of our most quoted films.
Yes.
Of the many Christopher Lee lines, if you will.
Absolutely.
Very cool film.
One of my favorites.
1973. Definitely, if you haven't seen it, check it out.
It's a classic.
Yeah. Definitely, man. Alright, what do you got?
Alright, well, I got a little bit older film. Let me check this real quick. I believe it's 1960, City of the Dead, also known as Horror Hotel. Either way you slice it, it's a classic film. Amazing atmosphere. A great witchcraft story.
Mm-hmm. Very early one, too.
Oh, absolutely. Like one of the first ones. I mean, I don't know what was first, Mask of Satan or this, but they came around the same time, Mario Bava's Mask of Satan. So, this is really a forerunner for all the, later to be witchcraft films. And it's one of my favorite. The atmosphere is amazing. Really good story, too. I mean, Christopher Lee's performance in this, he goes from... That's one of the things about Christopher Lee, like, he could go from being a good guy to a bad guy And like you didn't
Yeah,
even
pull it
know
off,
it.
yeah, still
Yeah,
pull
he
it
can
off.
pull it off totally, man. Yeah, City of the Dead, Horror Hotel. Any Misfits fans out there knows that Misfits made a song called Horror Hotel. It was, I believe, Glenn based it on this film. I'm pretty sure they did.
I would not doubt
Horror
that.
fans that they are.
I would not doubt that.
Great film, man. City of the Dead. Check it out.
Alright, got one more for you that I'm going to do. Rasputin. The Mad Monk. Now, this was again, this is Christopher Lee just doing something totally out of the realm of what anybody would have thought, considering him, playing Dracula and stuff. And
He was typecast when he was playing
Yeah.
Dracula. He could show
Yeah.
he had so many different...
And that, again, that's where the history comes back when you talk about the acting, the Shakespearean stuff. I mean, that all comes into play. And you can definitely tell the actors that don't have that background to somebody like Christopher Lee who did. Really kind of a weird film. He's a healing monk of sorts, and it just... Yeah, it's...
You don't know whether he's like a good guy or a bad guy. Because
Yeah.
He does a lot of good as well, but he makes, women bow to him. That scene is one of my favorites where he makes
Yep.
apologize. That's one of my favorite.
But I think this film really made him a real actor.
Yes.
It broke that mold of what people thought Christopher Lee was doing. And it's kind of funny because the first time I remember seeing this cover, I actually never really thought it was him until they actually read Christopher Lee on there, because he really, he doesn't exactly look like Christopher Lee. What you'd think with the nice slick back hair. And
Yeah, absolutely.
it's definitely a cool
Ain't no
film,
Dracula
though.
in this film.
So
He's
definitely
a
cool.
scruffy monk. Great film.
One more, we got time to show up one more here. What do you got? Oh yes, the long forgotten.
Now this is probably Christopher Lee's most brutal role, besides The Devil a Daughter. That was also another really sinister role. But my pick is Jesse Franco's The Bloody Judge. Man, I love this film. Christopher Lee does such a good performance as Judge Jeffries. He thinks he's doing the Lord's work, but really he's torturing these poor people.
Yeah.
And the ways he does it, I mean, they're just so... I mean, another film to compare this to probably would be, respectfully, Witchfinder General, Mark of the
Vincent
Devil,
Price.
Mark of the Devil, stuff like that. But this is more of a graphic film that Christopher Lee was involved in.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who knows anything about Christopher Lee knows that he really was not into the whole
Gore. And
violence.
Yeah.
He was more into the more mystical and the supernatural elements within the horror genre. He actually called it fantasy, not horror.
Mm-hmm.
But this is definitely a horror film, man. This is one of my favorites. Jesse Franco, who a lot of people think is a hack director. Fuck you, man. This is awesome. Check it out. The Bloody Judge is one of his best films, in my opinion. And the ending of this film will just haunt you.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me, man. It'll haunt you. But that's my pick, The Bloody Judge. Check it out.
Right on.
I sentence you to be hanged by the neck until you are dead.
What's going on, horror fans? Hope you're enjoying the show thus far. Gonna bring it to a closing now. We just want to thank you all very much for tuning in and dropping dead, hanging with us. Obviously, hopefully you're horror fans. We love talking about our favorite genres. Neither me or him are horror historians. We're not gonna act like we know everything, because we don't. But we're just doing this for the love of our favorite genre. And we're gonna close now. And we hope to be doing a lot more of these in the future. So hope to see you again, man. Gore forever, Fulci lives. I'm Skid Gore.
I'm Ghoul.
And we'll see you next time on Descent into Horror Hell!
Oh!